Caitlin Clark has played both her preseason games. Her first NBA or WNBA game is going to be in a couple of days on Tuesday. And this is what I have gotten from watching back on these games. Whether or not Caitlin Clark is ready, whether or not Caitlin Clark is going to be one of the best players immediately in the WNBA, I genuinely think that she's as good as advertised. She's going to be as good as advertised. And while what the likes of Taurasi said about her as a rookie might be true, the way she said it obviously was terrible, and basically trying to be a little Caitlin Clark rather than just saying the league is good, basically trying to say she wasn't that good. But Caitlin Clark is legit. She is legit. You can tell in preseason, just like you can tell in Angel Reese, you can tell what things translate and what things don't very early in players' careers. You can tell the specific things that they're going to be, that they were able to do on the previous level that are going to translate. Just like for Angel Reese, while I genuinely was a bit worried because, yeah, I know she plays the 4. She is playing the 4 in WNBA. She played the 4 in college. The complete lack of any sort of jump shot meant that I thought she's more of a center that plays the 4 rather than a true 4. But obviously, the offensive rebounding is going to translate. The defense is going to translate. The hustle is going to translate. She's going to be really good. But when it comes to Caitlin Clark, you can see the specific things they're going to translate, and she's only going to get better. Is Caitlin Clark going to be a little turnover prone to start her off her WNBA career? Yes. Yeah, without question, she's going to be turnover prone. Is she going to have times where she's going to struggle shooting wise? Yeah, just like every pro does. Is it going to be as easy for her to get those open shots as in college? She's probably not. No, because she's probably not going to have the same freedom to shoot them. But certain things are going to translate, and you can even see from game 1 to game 2, her teammates are running more. When Caitlin Clark is in transition, she's the most dangerous. She's one of the best transition passers I've seen in a long time, either men or women's basketball, when she pushes the floor. When Caitlin Clark goes downhill, she's so hard to guard because she tends to make good decisions. Regardless of turnovers, you're going to turn the ball over when the level of defense steps up as much as it does. You're going to see what works and what doesn't. And I think a lot of the first couple of games she plays is going to be feeling out what works and what doesn't. Because she's not doing as much isolation scoring. If you're looking at the three-pointers she's hitting, a lot of them, the threes are that she's able to get off the dribble, is now her attacking downhill right and pulling back. Because the scouting report's going to be there. Caitlin Clark can't pull up going right. She releases the ball from this side of her head, which is actually not an issue. The only thing is that it's very obvious what she does. If she goes right, she wants to go downhill. If she goes left, she wants to pull up and shoot the step back. It is still hard to stop because she has the ability to go to the basket going left. She can pull up from mid going left. She also has the ability to stop, not necessarily stop on a dime, but if she's going right, and because she's so good at going directly downhill, if she can get you into a situation where you're cutting her off, or you're maybe anticipating and stepping a bit too far back, she can pull back, create the separation, and still get that shot off the pull-up. But at the same time, if you're kind of expecting for the pull-up and you're playing a little bit on her left shoulder, she's able to just burn by and go to the basket. She's also a really good passer inside, and I think she's going to be fine. It'll be she's more than likely going to be Rookie of the Year. She's more than likely going to make the Olympics team because she's just a baller. Regardless of all of the crazy stuff she does, all the crazy shots, and that's the reason why people pay more attention to her than to, for example, the person who was the best player in her class up until she got injured in Paige Beckers. Paige, you could argue, is almost as good a player as Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is the is one of the best players to watch in the world right now because of the way she plays. She plays at a breakneck speed. She pushes the tempo of the sport of basketball, unlike a lot of people. When she's on the floor, the tempo is going to step up. And that's what the Iowa team did really well. They all played with Caitlin Clark for years. The likes of Kate Martin were just running. They would just run. She'd get the ball, they'd run, and she'd find her. Caitlin Clark's going to find cutters, whereas her current team maybe aren't necessarily used to how she plays, just like Caitlin Clark isn't necessarily used to how her teammates play. When both sides end up figuring each other out, when the Fever end up figuring out how to play around Caitlin Clark, if they're running, if they're playing to Caitlin Clark's strengths, and if Caitlin Clark figures out more of her teammates, figures out what works and what doesn't work in WNBA, she's going to be one of the greats. She's already one of the better players, going to be one of the better players in the league. No question about it. And she can play with, she's playing with Ali at Boston. Look, Cesano was great. Stolke was great. Aliyah Boston, significantly better than both of them. So she'll figure it out how to work a two-man game with her. And heck, some of those long bricks, Aliyah Boston's that good an offensive rebounder. So like the Fever are probably going to be a decent WNBA team. But Caitlin Clark is as good as advertised. Is she going to walk into the league and be the best player in the league? No. No, she's not. Of course she's not going to be. Like, no rookie's going to be in any sport. They need to figure it out because there is a big jump. Like, A'ja Wilson is without question going to be better than her. And I know everyone's talking with her about the whole Nike shoe thing and everything. She was the face of the Cosmic Unity and it didn't sell. Probably don't want to give her a signature shoe. It's not going to sell. And the only color that these companies see is green. And Caitlin Clark's going to bring in more money. That's just the be all and end all. Like, that's just where it ends. Although A'ja Wilson is definitely the better player. And I do want to bring up something that I actually saw on ESPN from basically just talking about that game from Andrea Carter and Chiney Onwumike. And it was the perfect way of explaining the whole situation with Caitlin Clark. Because we've obviously seen on these mainstream platforms them bringing in current or former WNBA players, and they've done everything they can to belittle Caitlin Clark. It was the perfect way, and surprisingly from ESPN, which very rarely gives you an actual decent take on basketball nowadays, but was basically saying that Caitlin Clark's going to bring viewers into the league, and these viewers, with how good the Aces have been, Aces back-to-back champions, Caitlin Clark is going to bring in a lot of eyes to the sport. For example, when she plays the Aces, it's going to be one of the more hyped games. It's probably going to be one of the more watched basketball games of the year in general when she plays the Aces for the first time. But you're still in a situation now where the Fever aren't as good as the Aces. People are going to watch that game for Caitlin Clark. They're going to watch the game and they're going to see the likes of Kelsey Plum, A'ja Wilson ball out, and they're going to become a fan of the Aces. I've always stood by this. Basketball is basketball. That is one thing that I have always made the argument from. And this is as somebody that grew up watching, because there was no NBA on TV, I grew up watching Irish local league basketball. For my local team. That's the basketball I grew up on. Basketball is basketball, regardless of the level. You can have interest even if it's not the tippity top level. There's a reason why people watch college basketball, even though it's worse than any league. More people watch college basketball than Europe, because it's still interesting. Even though if a college basketball team tried to play in EuroLeague, even UConn would lose every game by 30. Maybe not every game. They'd lose a lot of games by 30. But basketball is basketball, and if one player is bringing eyes onto the league, that doesn't mean that the other players should be annoyed. If anything, they should be happy, because I can guarantee you a lot more people are going to know who A'ja Wilson is this time next year. A lot more people are going to know who Breanna Stewart is this time next year than right now. And Caitlin Clark is a big reason for that. And even to an extent with A'ja Reese. A'ja Reese is an exceptional basketball player. Is an exceptional personality off the floor. And is going to be one of the reasons why the WNBA is growing. But without that rivalry with Caitlin Clark last year, she's probably not as well known right now. And I don't mean obviously some dumb, the Dave Portnoy and that type of people with A'ja Reese was absolute BS. Nobody deserves to do that for trash talk. It's just ridiculous either way. But that rivalry elevated. When one player is able to elevate the people around them, it helps everybody. And now we're at a stage where A'ja Reese has a massive star power as well. So people watching A'ja Reese, that originally watched those games for Caitlin Clark, then suddenly were watching for LSU for A'ja Reese. And now, obviously, the people that were watching the game, I remember the LSU game immediately afterwards, was Paige Beckers against Juju Watkins. People watching games for them are suddenly are going to be even more hyped when they play other people that are almost as good. So it's a situation where the league is going to grow around one or two players, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. The only way that the basketball level is good enough in the WNBA that I'm very confident that people that are going to be watching the games aren't going to necessarily stop, especially when the league is. If you're a basketball fan, you have a choice of watching a bunch of no-names you're never going to hear of on a bad draft class during Summer League, when obviously once the playoffs is done, or you can watch a lot of the WNBA regular season, or watch the WNBA playoffs come before the season. It's during the off season of the NBA. So I can't see a situation where this league doesn't pick up, because basketball is basketball at the end of the day. And I love the fact that we actually seen something positive about the influence, not only the influence of Caitlin Clark, but how the eyes that Caitlin Clark is initially bringing into the sport and the league is going to raise the profile of every individual player in the league as well. And it's going to get to the stage where people are going to become fans of the WNBA, while maybe they initially came in because they're fans of Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese, but they're eventually going to become fans of WNBA, and they're going to become fans of women's basketball. Like, that's an objectively good thing for the sport. That's an objectively good thing for sport in general. And I don't understand where the argument has always been from, oh, but like men's basketball is better, so why would you watch women's? It's like, men's tennis is better. Why would you watch women's? Serena Williams would have been destroyed by, even in her best, by the 200 ranked male player in the world. Who gives a damn about watching the ranked 200 male player in the world? Serena Williams was one of the most popular players of all time. Some people consider her the GOAT. Like, a sport can be interesting to watch as long as it's a good sport to watch. And women's basketball in the WNBA has always been good to watch. Yeah, you can watch low-light compilations on YouTube, but if you actually watch the games, if you've actually watched full games, it's always been good. The skill level has always been there. And is it taking one person to get enough eyes on that for people to realize that? So be it. So be it, if that's what it takes. Because all the people in the WNBA that are probably a little bit jealous of the fact that Caitlin Clark has greater star power, all they have to do is go out and give Caitlin Clark's team the business, and they would have somewhat similar star power. It's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. And as a fan of the sport of basketball, I'm glad the league is picking up. And you better believe I cannot wait to watch Clark against Taurasi, to watch Clark against playing the Liberty against Breanna Stewart. I can't wait. Fair, Sabrina as well in the Liberty. Can't wait to see her play against the Aces, who are just stacked. And then obviously the first WNBA game between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is going to be watched a lot, especially because Cardoso also plays for this guy who actually went and beat Caitlin Clark last year. And obviously Cardoso and Alia Boston, both former South Carolina players, so there is interesting narratives there. So anyway, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.